I know how I felt around the time when Ahmaud was killed, and I made the decision that it was time for me to do a digital detox. So I came off social media. I think I'd been off social media for like a week. I've turned up on Zoom for my usual Zumba class, and my best friend who runs it, she was like, I know you've heard the bad news about George Floyd. And I was like, who's George Floyd? Anyway, I've come off Zoom and I googled George Floyd, and then I end up seeing this image of him on the ground with a police officer kneeling on his neck, and that was enough for me.
This time has been full of just utter reflection. Things like I've kind of buried or ignored have just like boiled to the surface, and you can't really escape it because you're pretty much just at home.
It's been hard. It's been hard to open your phone and to see black bodies being beaten and killed and brutalised and maimed on a regular basis.
I will never get used to it. I will never be desensitized to it. It will always affect me. I may not know that person, and most of the time I don't know these people. I will never meet them. I will never meet their families. I don't know much about their lives other than what's reported, but it will always affect me.
Now, obviously, I didn't go through what George Floyd went through. I didn't go through the heartache of what his mother went through. So perspective is really important. But for me, selfishly, like, some of it was really hard to take on, to kind of see that trauma day in, day out of black bodies. It's like, it's exhausting. Like, really, really exhausting.
How has this time affected me? Or should we just be really honest and say, how did it feel to watch a man be murdered 8 minutes and 45 seconds? Yeah, won't forget that time.
I think I remember everything going really slow and feeling impotent and powerless, you know, which is what the oppressor wants you to feel. And I just was like, what's the point? What's the point?
It affected me very personally. I mean, I remember when I was really upset when Philando Castile was shot, and I remember seeing Diamond's video and the daughter's video. Oh, and seeing that little girl go, "Mummy, quiet, because they're gonna shoot at you too." That hurt a lot, you know. Mike Brown hurt, Trayvon Martin hurt. They all hurt. But George, that didn't just hurt, that broke me.
It's been quite an emotional time for us as black people, because with what happened in America, with that awful incident which happened to George Floyd, was that there was a feeling, I can speak for within our community, that even in a pandemic, that can still happen to us. And that was emotionally draining, destroying, disheartening.
It's painful because all of those things that you witness, you have personal connection to. You know people maybe who's been through that. You've experienced that yourself.
Sometimes I just want to appeal to just the humanity of it all, because it's so senseless. It's senseless that, you know, a man is out jogging and then that's it. Because of what reason? You know, a woman was sleeping in her bed. She wasn't even 30. For what reason? You know, all of these types of things. You're hearing the words, "I can't breathe," and that doesn't spark something in you. I don't understand. That's because we're humans, and that really gets to me, because I think it all stems back to fear, but I don't know why, and I don't know what is it about a black man, a black woman, a black child that fears you so much that you can do this and sleep at night. Yeah.
Inhumanity and that ability to kill somebody so whimsically, like he wasn't even human, was difficult to watch and difficult to forget. And that man who was called George, and my husband is called George, and my husband's a dark-skinned, bald man. And I'll be honest with you, that could have been my husband under his knee. And There's plenty of times that my husband's been stopped by the police and treated disgustingly. I've been with him, he's been with him with the kids, and we've had that experience, and they don't care. They don't look at you like you're human. And then my son, when I was watching it, he came up on the bed and watched it. And I didn't intend for him to watch that video, but he happened to be there and I wasn't paying attention. And my son's 10. And he said, "Why do they hate us so much?" I don't know how to answer that to a 10-year-old. What did we do, is what he said. What did we do? And he meant we as a black people. He's 10. What did we do? Why do they hate us so much? I don't know why. I don't know what my skin has done to make people that don't know me or don't know anything about me or my family hate me and my family so much and hate my children.
Even now, saying it, it takes my breath away. It takes my breath away because since then, I've had to explain, which is almost 3 months ago, 2 months ago. Time just drifts into one in COVID. But I've had to explain it to a lot of people why that particular point was a opening of the floodgates. And when I say it's the opening of the floodgates, I mean that I can't not say stuff anymore.
My son's gonna grow up. In a few years, he will be 15, literally 15 in a few years. And he's gonna be big. He's gonna be tall. And he's gonna be scary to people. And they're gonna feel scared of him and they're gonna be threatened by him. And some people, well, they're gonna treat him horribly. They're gonna dehumanize him, make up lies about him. That's my baby. George Floyd was somebody's child.
Yeah, things which needed to come to the surface are coming to the surface, which is great, but then it's petrifying and scary and confronting.
The fact that we're in this time that we're in has obviously really raised the stakes and heightened, or did heighten for me, the kind of the way it affected my core. There was a lot of time to kind of be with one's like own thoughts and consider what it is that you want to do with your life.
It's been a massive period of relief. Not only has it affected me personally, it's affected me like professionally as well, about choices I made, things I did, not with regret. It's like I thought that was the way I had to do things so I could get by.
This industry that I love being a part of, and this job that I love doing, you start to you start to really think about all the experiences that you've had. If you went into the mind of what as a black person you go through, like navigating this industry, it's a lot.
But personally, the relief has been that I can be fully me again and not have to explain being black.
There was moments where I think everyone had some peaks and troughs with it. There were moments where it was like, yeah, I'm really ready for it, I'm ready to take up the fight. And there were moments where it was like, I'm done fighting.
I live with my granddad, so I couldn't actually risk going to the protests just because, but I wanted to be there. And I found that really hard because, again, social media, and I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but the power of social media and what they can have, I was feeling guilty that I wasn't there. But then I knew that I had a bigger picture and why I had to stay at home. But then I'm sitting on Instagram and looking at everyone there and thinking, oh, I should be there. Oh no, am I not doing my bit? But then we've all been doing our bit because we've all been involved in it. So then there was just this whole weird pressure tank of what's right. And then a big fear about going back into the industry as well.
There were lots of ups and downs, but I think it needed to happen in the pandemic, so because everyone was still, everyone couldn't do anything. We were all stuck in our houses, so people actively had to see how we are treated. And that is the good thing that has come out of something that's been so traumatic, is that more people have actually opened their eyes to what's in front of them.
We're not just starting from George Floyd, but we also have to acknowledge that it's exhausting. So sometimes it's hard to be carrying the I suppose the activist or advocate, or it can feel so much bigger than us, but it's about how you implement those things in your day to day. Are you advocating for yourself? Are you looking after yourself? Are you reaching out? Are you being of service to your community and to yourself? It can be as simple as that. Not every day go out on the street and protest, but sometimes it looks like that as well.
When things do start moving, people are going to forget. Some people aren't, but some people will. And in terms of how that makes me feel, is that I know I have, as tiring as it is, I have a job. I have a job to keep telling my narrative, to tell other people's Black narratives, to keep fighting for us. And it's going to be a long run, but I'm up for it. And I think we have to be, because I remember when I did a protest up here with my mum, and she said I was marching in the 70s and now I'm marching at 70. And that's why I need to do it, basically, for her.
It has revealed a lot of ignorance in a lot of my circles. It has forced so much introspection. It has forced me to confront things that I had stuffed down.
Seeing a lot of people silence if they are white and they are my friend and they have benefited from Black culture, in particular, that one. And I see their silence, it's so loud to me and it's so noisy.
Because there were people putting up squares who I knew had done or said stuff which were microaggressions, or the way they behaved towards me was racist. And I was like, how fucking dare you?
As much as I appreciate the messages and stuff, I can't keep doing this. Just because you're reaching out doesn't mean that you're entitled to receive a response from me. You're ignorant to all these things that's going on in the world. That's not my fault. Like, I'm not the representative. I don't have a badge. Yeah, it's a lot. It's just a lot to go through and to relive. Like, it just dredges up everything.
I follow this woman on Instagram. She put a black square up. She kept putting loads of stuff on her feed, not on her actual page. Anyway, and she's like, I've learnt so much, and as part of learning that, I've realised that actually even just putting up a black square is in itself wrong, so I'm going to take my black square down. And I was like, you what? What? Oh, yeah, that's the difference. You get to choose. You get to choose whether you care about this or not. And I don't get that choice.
This is kind of the time that we're talking about in terms of when, whiteness comes knocking on the door and asking how they can be better, for the first time. They've got to do that work that we've been doing this whole time. You've got to go and do the work. I'm not doing it anymore. So that's where that ideology needs to be dissolved. We need to get rid of that.
It's about time. Don't come and ask me how, in the sense how's it all been, because for me, especially having moved out of London, when you look around and you see all the people who've gone and just been a bit have had to go and be alone somewhere else, the amount of times I've had to walk into the auditorium of a theatre show and I am the only Black person who is not on stage or in the pit. I've been having this journey for a very long time, and it's just nice to now sit back and go, do you know what? You will deal with this. And as in white people, this has been your problem. This is our shared history. Slavery is our shared history, and your ignorance is amongst your bloodline. So you guys all go and deal with it, because it's not me who calls upon it. It's your time to fix it, because I've said my people have died for it to be fixed. People have shouted, my people have shouted and screamed, blood has been spilled, bridges have been gotten, humiliation has happened hundreds of years. we've done enough. Do you know what I mean? Despite in this argument, this whole movement, it's on your side. It's not mine anymore. It shouldn't have to be, because I've already had to carry that burden. I came out the womb with the burden, you know, like, why am I having to get involved?
Why? Why am I now having these internal battles with myself over something that I've had to deal with and struggle with for so many years and been trying to do, and now it's been propelled into the forefront? It was a bit like, wow, I've been fighting, but where were you all? Like, not even a year ago. That's what confused me, I think, the most. Where were you a year ago when this is still, how were you that blind to it a year ago? For me, I get quite confused by that.
During the pandemic, it was almost like white people said, okay, I can hear you now, let's talk then. But actually what was happening was that we weren't allowing black people to heal from their trauma. Racism is something that we've had to deal with from birth, and it's also something that it's just second nature. That doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, and it isn't hurting us.
And also sometimes you can't literally acknowledge or even realise that you're in trauma because you're in survival mode. And so when you stop, when George Floyd's murder forces you to stop as a black person and really evaluate, you know, whether your people really do matter, whether there is value, where you have been undervalued, where you have been taken advantage of, or where you have accepted racism, or things that are just so unacceptable as a person of colour. All of those things, they have come up for every person that I know.
Because it is exhausting. It's detrimental to our mental health to continually just always be educating and explaining. And, you know, I don't have a problem with when people ask me. I don't want people to feel like they can't ask us questions, but also go forward with the knowledge that if you ask a question, A, the person could potentially give you an answer that you don't want to hear. B, the person might not want to give you an answer, and that could be for many reasons, and that's okay. And C, the person might tell you about yourself, and also that's okay. So I think it's just got to be, you've got to come with an open mind, and the industry as a whole hopefully will do that also.
It was interesting seeing how institutions engaged with what was going on sort of quite immediately. And when I say immediately, I mean in terms of like social media, making statements, that kind of thing. I think there's doing that, and then there's also realizing that, you know, when this industry is back on its feet, they need to be prepared for the people on the outside. You know, when these places start producing work again, people are gonna say, please remember what you were doing a few months ago when you were saying that you were standing in solidarity. Because if the action doesn't actually like put any of that into place, then making that statement was sort of, again, lip service. Do you know what I mean?
I think I came up with this little phrase that is, I think, sums up what's happened at the moment, is your actions speak louder than your captions. And I think there's a lot of things happening within not just the industry, around the world, that people are quite happy to go online and act like they're for the cause. And then as soon as life starts moving, those people that were the allies suddenly disappear. And I think it's important that we use what has happened as a way to actively create change.
Because I'm an artist, like 2 days after George Floyd died, I was approached by a big arts organisation asking me to do all this stuff. And I've never done this before, but I was like, what anti-racism work are you doing? I felt like, a part of me felt like, who am I to be asking this? Because I'm just one small girl making like art in like South London. But then again, I thought, you've said that you are doing this and this. Prove it, let's see.
The pandemic has taught me to not remove myself from my art. I think that our industry makes it so that we bend ourselves and we fit ourselves in these boxes to be marketable, to work. But actually, it's what is important out of this whole theatre industry, this whole art form, is the people. Especially as Black people. The ownership of our art is so important because it is so deeply rooted in our history.
And we have this mystical thing that happens, and that's why it's so powerful when you see all Black companies come together, because we have this unsaid understanding that I do believe is ancient. And I wanted to just do something that was going to be healing and holding on to some kind of optimism by just being together, because I just go back to the fact that, you know, here we are in lockdown where people are disproportionately dying from our own communities, and then at the same time we just like being told that Black bodies just don't matter, that we don't matter. That's why the statement of Black Lives Matter is so important for us to say for ourselves, like, I do matter for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my community, for the wider global community. We matter.
Just getting more clarity on my feelings and my thoughts, and educating myself even more, because they are the tools that I really need to articulate and break down this system that is against me.
How can I keep making myself small and trying to appease everyone and make everybody feel comfortable if it's at the expense of me?
What has been relit for me is sort of my purpose as being a person who has the privilege of like working within this industry.
But we need to get to a point where we align art back to its original purpose, and that is to be the precursor for where our society should be heading. It should be the place where we're having the most difficult conversations on stage for all of the people to see and to step away from and to think.
I think going back into the industry after sort of Corona and as the industry is opening up in the light of a lot of pledges for change, I'm really hopeful. I'm really, really hopeful that change is going to happen. But there is a part of me that's going, okay, I'm watching you. I want to see if this is real. And if it is real, how long it's going to last.
I want to make this I want to be able to make sure that like I can navigate this industry in a much like safer way for myself, because it would be wrong of me to like just keep sort of running and sort of pacing through this industry as we always try and do without like protecting my identity.
Honestly, I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous because I worry that it will be a toxic environment. It'll feel like you're the elephant in the room, the awkward elephant that everyone's on edge, or the opposite, where they feel like you're a China doll and they're all like, I don't. Oh, that rubber is very, like, they don't even want to say the word black because they're so scared. And I think the reason why I'm so nervous about going back into the industry is because of the reactions that I experienced in when the moment was happening.
All we are asking for is equality, parity, to be seen. And already people are complaining we're asking for too much. We are human, we are literally asking to be seen the same. So I have no desire to engage with people anymore if they're not willing to understand that we're just asking for basic human rights.
you don't want to upset anyone. You don't want to upset the gatekeepers of our industry because they have so much power. And I think now I very much have the mindset of let's just rewrite this narrative and take this on ourselves, because if people weren't listening to us before, because this Black Lives Matter movement has happened, I don't know if people at the top are going to listen to us now. So I think it's up to us to change the narrative. So in that sense, I feel a bit braver.
So, going back into the industry with apprehension. Apprehension that I could find myself sooner than I hope in a situation where I'll have to act on my new convictions. And that's the fact of the matter, that I could find myself in a situation where I'm like, don't feel comfortable, don't like this. And then I will act on my convictions, whether it be walking out, and that's gonna, there's gonna be a fallout, but I'm almost certain at some point in the future, because I don't believe things have changed like they say they have. There's a lot of incentives, there's a lot of talk, but action is different. And when you're on set and it's the budget and it's always been done this way, are they really gonna treat me with respect and care? Because they haven't in however long before. And when that time arises, the onus will be on me to make the decision. And I just think that going forward, I know going forward, I'm what decision I'll make.
I haven't seen huge changes as of yet. I know things are starting to happen again. I've seen a few all-white casts already. And I think definitely because of the times and what's been happening, people are going to be very mindful of playing it safe. And I think producers are going to want to put on shows that sell. Put people in shows that sell tickets, which I understand. But I think we can't lose momentum for this movement. It has to trickle into our industry, because it is, 80% of what this whole country sees comes from our TV screens, our theatre screens, our film screens. And I think we need to work a lot harder in making it representative of our society.
The changes can't be done until we're doing it, so there's still going to be mistakes made. There will be mistakes made because people are still learning. I'm still learning things, so I'm going to make mistakes.
The work has to continue, because for some people, some of our poster allies, the self-proclaimed allies, them tired already. They're exhausted from the empathy. And we can't necessarily just rely on white people to fix things. We can't do that.
I think it's about time someone did turn around and be like, we've been elitist, we've closed those doors on purpose. You did acknowledge it, do you know what I mean? If you really feel sorry about it, acknowledge you were wrong and move forward, do you know what I mean? Like, it's better for all of us. What's the point, if you're not really willing to address the problem, like from the root, then nothing's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? The problem will still occur, it will go in cycles, and again, it will just be a series of moments and moments and moments of time where we do the right thing for a little bit and that's it.
Like, nothing will change really in terms of like institutionally until the gatekeepers change, or there are policies in place which are about anti-racist work, and not just like diversity or inclusion or like a training someone does, but like actual like harsh repercussions if people don't abide to stuff. Take people's money away. If it was like, if you do something, if you do A and your money gets taken away, the change will come overnight. Like, people don't want their money taken away. I know we're not going to suddenly change people's hearts and people will just be like anti-racist and whatever. Like, I am not under that illusion, but I think people need to be punished.
I feel like I want to do it. I feel like I'm ready, but at the same time, I feel very nervous. I feel like there's this activism thing in me right now, which has always been there, but it's kind of more prominent now. And I feel like there's lots that's more important. Obviously, this is my passion, the thing I love to do, and what I see myself doing for the rest of my life. But I feel like there's so much we need to work on and we really need to change. I feel like I want to get back and see that things are really changing, because I'm hopeful that it will happen. And if it doesn't, then people have got questions to answer.